Hey everybody, it's Jason, Ohio Valley Overland. Welcome to the channel. People have been asking me to put up stuff about all my builds that I've been doing for years and years, and this is really the first time that I've really had a chance to kind of sit down and really think out putting a video together for a particular build. So the project that I'm going to highlight for this video and the next series of videos is my Tundra. I'm building a 2010 Tundra, Australian style ute. And I've always liked these big rigs that you can find in Australia. Really some really cool stuff out there. And there's not much of a market in the United States for some of these products. And so I was inspired by a few people that I saw on YouTube and some things that I saw online to build an Australian style ute. I don't have a lot of money. And so I'm trying to do this on a budget. Now I'm not compromising on some things, like what we're going to be doing with this first part of the build is installing Dobinson suspension system, and I didn't go all out. What I'm looking for is reliability. I've got two other rigs that I've built. One is a 2007 Toyota FJ Cruiser, and the other is a Tacoma 3rd gen 2016 manual. And I've used both Dobinson and I've used ARB, and really they're for me they're about the same as far as installation ease and reliability. I've really tested hard the ARB. It works really well. The Dobinson, not so much. It's still a rig that is kind of our daily, whereas the FJ is more of an overland trail rig than anything else. But I don't hammer it as hard as some people would. It's not a rock crawler. So the idea behind the Tundra build is that we're going to build a ute camper. So we want to be able to have a camper on the back, an American style slide-in camper. But we're putting it onto a flatbed. Now, kind of the history of this build this is a truck from a friend of mine, and he used it as a contractor to do his daily work. Well, one of the interesting things is that a tree fell on it. And it was weird because just weeks before this tree fell on this truck, I told him, man, this is a really nice truck. If you ever decide to get rid of it, let me know. And so it got totaled by the insurance company. And he approached me if I wanted to buy it. I went over and inspected it. The frame wasn't bent. The tree had fallen on his ladder rack and his boxes and the bed, crushing all that stuff. So, if you were just an insurance adjuster coming up, I could see definitely where you would say, yeah, it's total. So I on a whim, I'm like, okay, let's do this. Let's buy this. So I buy from him and got a really good deal on it. I get it back home. I take it apart, take the truck bed off, and the frame's not bent. It's in pristine shape. Like I said, it's a 2010, and being a contractor, you would think it would be out in the weather and it would be in, kind of rough shape. It really wasn't. It's in really good shape. A little dirty, but, I'm taking this thing on. The plan is to take it up to Alaska next summer. So it's going to be getting dirty. It's going to be on the trails. So having a little bit banged up, a little bit dirty doesn't really bother me. We're not building a trailer queen here at all. We're building a off-grid camper. 4-wheel drive camper. So that's the plan. But we want to be able to get into some remote areas. So we're really going to be using a 4-wheel drive a lot. So today we're going to be installing a Dobinson. I believe it's a 2.5/3 kit. And then we're going to be putting on some 35-inch tires. And again, and new 17-inch wheels. And again, all this stuff I've been acquiring over the past few months. You know, if you're going to do a similar rig, the thing to do is to kind of, you know, have your rig, have your plan, and then slowly build it piece by piece. And then once you get all those pieces together, take a weekend, 2 weekends, and put it all together. And that's kind of where we're at right now. So the bed, the flat bed that's on it, actually came from Paintsville, Kentucky. Southern Indiana, and drove down, picked it up, put it on a trailer, hauled it home. All aluminum flatbed. Got a really good deal on it. If you ever look online, you'll see how much an aluminum flatbed is new. You're talking $7,000 to $10,000. I picked it up for $1,500 and with the money that I have into the truck as it sits right now, I'm sitting at about $4,500 that I have into this truck. Let's go check it out. So when we're talking about a used contractor's truck, we're not talking about something that is in perfect shape. There's a lot of little dings and pings all over it, but all in all, mechanically, it's in good shape. The guy that I got it from, he got the oil changed. It does have the engine shutter. We'll address that coming up in the next few videos. But this is just kind of a walk around real quick of what we got. Now again, the chrome. One of the first things that I started to do was kind of peel the chrome off the grill. We're going to peel that all off. It was already missing the emblem. So we're going to peel that off, get the emblem on there. Maybe even do a different grill insert. I haven't decided yet, but we're definitely going to paint it the same color as the car. We'll probably do a headlight upgrade eventually. We're not worried about that, but I will do a video of how to restore these headlights back to their original. As far as the front bumper goes, we are going to eventually put in a winch and a steel bumper. Still debating, but for right now, we're gonna keep the original fenders. Probably put on some fender flares just to highlight the new wheels. But the thing is, we only need front ones. The wheels, you'll see these soon. They're gonna be 35-inch tires, Ironman MTs. With a Alpha equipped wheel that I got a really good deal on. Let's walk around and check out the inside real quick. So again, this is not perfect, and I've been living out of this vehicle, and the guy that I got it from also was really living out of this vehicle. You can really see, you know, it is a little dirty, but we'll do some videos of how we clean this thing up. Like every Toyota, the driver's seat has a little bit of a scar. I'll show you guys how to fix that. And then we'll put seat covers on it too. And again, some of my cleaning techniques that I've used on other cars, I'll go run through all that. The interesting thing, there's no rust at all. Absolutely no rust. A little bit dirty, a little bit muddy, but all in all, it's not bad. Again, carpet will get all cleaned. I'll show a video on how to do all that. I love these 60-40 split seats. We are gonna put on the other side a cooler, one of the electric coolers. This 60 side will be where our dog is going to be living when we do our Alaska trip, so that'll remain. And then let's get back here to the flatbed. So the flatbed is a all aluminum flatbed, and again, it's well used. This is from a farm truck, so you'll notice it's kind of beat up here at the top. Not a big deal. All this is getting cut off anyhow. We're going to put in some new signal lights. We actually have some really interesting boxes that we found that we're going to be putting underneath the bed, which really kind of gives that Australian Ute style. Now, if you notice, this was actually originally a 6.5 foot bed. This is an 8 foot bed that I put on it. So it's a little bit long as far as doing some really steep and deep trails. But again, that's not the intent of this. This is going to be more of a touring RV, off-road touring RV. Walking around the back, we are going to figure out something to do with that spare tire under the bottom. That is going to be one of the things I think is going to become maybe a water tank. I've decided. Currently working on developing a central drawer. Again, Australian Ute style is what we're going for here. So we're going to put in a center drawer that will be holding cargo, recovery equipment. This does have a tow package, so we will have a hitch, and we will be pulling our trailer, which you can kind of see there in the background, which is another project I'll put some videos up for. Coming around the other side, again, you can see, you know, it's really just a basic stock truck that we put this bed on. Let me get underneath here so you can see the way that we mounted this. So the stock truck has a bed that is on one continuous plane, so there's no need to build weird step-ups or anything like that. We were able to just put in some 2x4 steel tubing, drop some U-bolts, drill some holes through the I-beam, and we were able to mount it up like that. We will be securing it even better, but this was just more of a rough sketch, proof of concept to make sure that everything would work okay. So we are going to put more U-bolts on this to help it out and make it even more secure, especially back here in the back. In the back, the center bracket has not had a U-bolt put on it yet, but the rear has. So we get a little bit of a weird bounce, but we're going to fix all that stuff in upcoming episodes. Stock suspension on it, coming around the side. One of the interesting things about this is that this bed had some extra supports that were put onto it, aluminum L channels. That's because see this, the welds are cracking. So we need to come back in and fix some of these welds. I don't know if we'll just do a whole new headache rack on it, but we'll figure something out. That's kind of the way that I'm leaning, is just put a whole new headache rack on it and just scrap this whole thing, because it is pretty beat up. But for right now, we're going to keep it the way it is. Again, it's a contractor's truck, so, and we've had it out doing a little bit of wheeling, even on the stock tires, which are pretty much bald. It does fairly well. You can see that it's beat up a little bit, got some scratches. Coming around to the front, the fender. This is, we're going to put a snorkel eventually, and that's going to be interesting because all the snorkels that we find are $500. I've got some ideas to do something a little cheaper. Not quite DIY, but yeah. But this fender's a little bit beat up. My son hit it with a scooter at AMA Vintage Days, putting a big dent in it. And so this might be something that we do, maybe a fender flare kit. Definitely think about bulge fenders. For right now, we are going to definitely put the fender flares on it, but that's coming up in episodes later on down the line. Kind of give you a little bit of a rundown of what we're going to be putting on it. All right, so it's a good idea to go ahead and install all your parts onto your leaf springs. Like I said, this is a job you can do yourself, but make sure that you're not cut it off your nose to spite your face. So you don't want to get everything apart and then realize that you are missing something. So before you do all that, make sure you go through your entire parts list and make sure that everything's there. So we've got our bushings, we've got our new shackles, bushings for the new shackle. We've got everything we need to do this job right. So we're going to slowly go through this piece by piece and show you what's going on. So we have a complete Dobinson set. First, springs, rear springs. I ordered the heaviest set of springs that I could. I wanted the heavy springs because we are going to be putting a camper on the back of it. Again, heavy springs in the front. Love the color. We have the same color scheme for suspension on our Taco. Freedom Off-Road, move my Star Wars cup here. Freedom Off-Road upper control arms. I went with Freedom Off-Road because Dobinson was out of them. And I actually put Freedom Off-Road upper control arms on my FJ to replace some Uniball ones that I really did not like. For the Midwest, where we get a lot of rain and mud and grit, the Uniballs just don't work. So these actually have a traditional ball in them. And then we have the nitrogen shocks all set up. We're getting new shackles put on. All the hardware is here. So we're going to be doing the entire setup. in this episode. If you like what we're doing, make sure you do hit a subscribe, crush that button. Again, we're a new channel, so this is going to be fun for us. Let's kind of go through. We're going to do the leaf springs, the rear leaf springs first. And the first thing we want to do is get the truck ready to be jacked up. So when you're working on the 4x4, it's kind of nice because you can turn the front diff on and have your front wheels locked in park. So when we jack up the back of the truck, it will be nice and safe. I've already chalked the other side. Make sure you are chalking the wheels. I do front and rear, even though we are only working on the back and it can only roll forward. I still like to do front and rear. As always, proper footwear, Chacos. All right, so let's get this thing jacked up. We want to do this until both the wheels are off the ground. Now I'm going to go a little higher than I need to. I'm going to try to get up as high as I can, because when we put the new leaf springs on, they're going to want to droop. And it's going to be a lot, we got 35-inch tires that are going on it, so we want everything to kind of be nice and saggy, so we can put all the stuff under there. So even though we have the wheels off the ground right now, we want to get it up as high as we can. So we notice I've positioned the jack stands up where the frame begins to flatten out on the Tundra. Now this is a 6.5 foot bed, so if you're doing this to your Tundra, it might be a little bit different. But this is going to give you the ability to keep it off of the part of the frame that arches up. That way it won't slide off the jack stands. Also make sure that when you're doing this, you get the frame in between the two notches on that jack stand just to make everything nice and sturdy. I'm using 6-ton jack stands. That should be plenty. That's 12,000 pounds. All right, so the next thing we're going to be doing is installing the bushings onto the new leaf springs. So here's our bushings. And basically what we have here is 2 rubber bushings. You see? And nice piece of metal in the middle. Now the holes in the center, what those are for greasing. So these can be greased on the through the bolt itself. Really, really nice. And look at that. Dobinson. Fancy. This is the grease I'm using. I'm going to grease all the bushings. Comes like this. See? It's real simple. Take some grease. Grease it really good. And then I also like to grease the inside. Put it in there. Also grease the inside. Very too much grease. It's that simple. You're gonna do that 4 times. What? That's hard to believe. Come on. All right.
So how does this work? You got the jack under the axle.
Oh, so that's just, I'm actually got it on jack stands. This is just so it doesn't flop on me when I bring it down.
Then you throw the leaf spring in and then do the suspension?
Yep. So I got the shotgun hooked.
Stock plate or no?
Yeah, I reuse that plate. So now, see, it just keeps it from dropping.
Right.
Bong.
Yeah, real big screwdriver. That'll be glad. Oh, fuck. Oh, we gotta put this.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Today we're doing the front. I didn't get the entire video of everything I wanted to install for the rear. We kind of got into a rhythm and forgot to film it all. So, but here's what we got going on today. We've already taken the wheel off. This is the 2010 Tundra. We went ahead and put the wheels on the rear. We are jacked up a little bit on this side, so it looks a little higher than it is, but it is substantially taller than it was. So today we are digging into the upper control arm, replacing it with a Freedom Off-Road unit, and then Dobinson shock and spring, the whole assembly will be coming in, replacing the original. So these upper control arms are clearly marked left and right. And before I ever get started on anything, I always like to just kind of inspect it, make sure there's nothing wrong with the piece. Double checking everything. So you are starting on the left first. We'll get this. Everything seems to be in good shape. Make sure the nut goes all the way down. You need it to. That's good. Everything seems to be in order. So packaged from Dobinson. The shocks are marked left and right. This is the left-hand one. I'm gonna inspect it. All right, so we got it all opened up. Inspecting the coils. Everything looks like it's in good shape. Shock eye seems in good shape. All the bolts are here. A little cap for the top. Yeah, there we go. So what we're going to start with is just kind of starting to disassemble everything. We're going to start down here at the bottom. I will go ahead and undo the sway bar linkage. And if your sway bar linkage is in bad shape, there's a good chance to go ahead and replace those. I'll inspect them. If when I need to, I'll run up to the store and pick up some new ones. Undoing the bolt at the bottom, freeing all this up. I always put a jack underneath the bottom of the lower control arm. Then we'll be taking everything apart piece by piece. Alright, comparing the two, you can tell how much beefier the Dobinson is compared. Now let's compare the OEM upper control arm to the new upper control arm. The new one is much beefier. Gusseted. No gussets. Gusseted. Press pedal.
Trees keep growing up, and all the while we keep standing looking down at the ground. Leaves keep popping out, keep falling on my head in a tumbling silhouette. Keep falling on my head. Don't look to me for an answer. Listen for it in the wind. Go look at all those pretty shapes on the earth. 'Cause nobody knows the reason why. Nobody knows the reasons why.